all of us would be aware of this guy called Jihadi John, who was the executioner for the Islamic State, apparently coming originally from the UK. So there's this depiction of Muslims being very bloodthirsty and beheading people. Another way in which Muslims are portrayed would be, for example, as being backward and primitive. So if you take Saudi Arabia, there's a fatwa that bans women from driving vehicles in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So that would demonstrate another picture of us being backward. So I was very interested in both current events and historically how Muslims actually have a counter narrative to that. That there is a different side to us. And I came across the story of Muslims in France. And in the First World War, when Germany declared war against France, there were actually Muslims living in Paris. And they joined up with the French army to fight the Germans in the First World War. And as a gift, the French people allowed them to build what is called the Grand Mosque of Paris. That's the biggest mosque in Paris. And subsequently, when Germany invaded France during the Second World War, the interesting part of it is that many sections of the French population actually either just gave up the fight, did not fight back against the Germans, or actually actively collaborated with the Nazis to actually deport Jews back to the death camps in Auschwitz, or actually killed them. And interestingly, what then happened was that the Imam of the Paris Grand Central Mosque actually used the mosque to provide shelter to French Jews. It's a part of our history that we don't know about, and it's not been portrayed in the media. Then I did some further research, and there was this one woman who was the daughter of a Sufi sheikh. And when France actually invaded, she escaped from France, went to the UK, and was trained to become an operative for a British military unit called the Special Operations Executive. These were basically the spies. These were people that were trained to take out the Nazis. And she was one of the best agents, and she died when she was tortured by the Nazi party, the Gestapo. It's a part of our history that we don't know. So I wanted to look at something current about what happens when people live like this with each other. And I'm reminded of what happened in Palestine not so long ago when the Israeli military attacked Gaza Strip. So you would see these plumes of smoke coming up from these 500 kilogram bombs that were just thrown onto Palestinian areas. What they don't say is that many of the mosques in the Gaza Strip were actually destroyed. And so people would get the question, it's all about marching for Palestine, but nobody thought, look, if they're destroying the mosque, where are these Muslims praying? And one of the stories that came out of this was that there was very close connections in this one community between Muslims and Greek Christians, what is called the Greek Orthodox Church. And what happened was that when these mosques were destroyed by the Israeli military regime, the priest of this church actually approached Muslims and said, because you don't have a mosque anymore, we will allow you to use our church to give the call to prayer. And that's because of how Muslims interacted with Christians. So let us be aware that it is through the love that we express for humanity that love gets returned back to us.